So, are you ready? Then we can start with the first vote by acclamation. I would therefore invite the Congress to confirm their support of the procedure by joining me in acclamation, ensuring that your screens are on and everything clear for us to see here. So, thank you very much. So we can now go to the second vote by acclamation. Thanks for this clear vote of support. I would now, as a result, invite you to proceed to the acclamation to confirm the host associations of the centenary celebration, the FIFA World Cup 2030 and the FIFA World Cup 2034. If you agree, please, acclamation. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. The vote of the Congress is loud and clear. Thank you to all participants. I'm looking to the scrutineers here present with us on site to confirm that everything is good. Is everything good? Yes, perfect. The scrutineers as well confirm, and I therefore declare the vote closed, and we can move to the formal announcements.
Now, a FIFA Congress will take place a week on Wednesday to confirm the hosts for the 2030 and 2034 World Cups. There were important developments over the weekend, and our chief reporter, Kaveh Solko, is here to go through them. Yeah, I say there were developments over the weekend, but we might have been forgiven for kind of not seeing those developments in any way, shape or form, because it was kind of like a late on Friday night. Explain why we perhaps feel that there was a media scrutiny that FIFA were trying to avoid, and what happened with these developments?
It's a strange situation because these sort of controversial reports from FIFA were released at midnight on Friday. Now, call me a cynic, but if you're trying to bury bad news or bury controversial news, especially if it's to do with football or sport, the best time to release it is around midnight on Friday, because journalists are going to be in bed and there's going to be lots of football games at the weekend. So the media are not going to be really able to focus on the bad news that you're releasing. But of course, we are going to talk about what was in these reports. And I think the most interesting report that was released was a bid evaluation report on Saudi Arabia's bid to host the 2034 World Cup.
Okay.
Now, they are the only country who are bidding to host the 2034 World Cup. But FIFA are saying, no, we're still going to do things properly. We're going to have a bid evaluation. We're going to go to Saudi Arabia. We're going to look at the stadiums and all their plans. And we're going to produce this report, and we're going to give it a mark out of 500. Guess what? They went to Saudi Arabia, even though half of the stadiums are not built yet. FIFA have said that the Saudi Arabia bid gets a record score of 419.8 out of 500.
When the stadium's not even in existence at the moment, how do they give that?
Well, that is, you know, they look at lots of different factors in the bid. They tot up numbers, and that's what they've come up with. So, according to the Saudi Arabia bid, their score is the highest ever for a World Cup. That is higher than the World Cup in 2026 in USA, Canada and Mexico. And that is 23 stadiums, some of the best stadiums in the world, NFL stadiums, which are already built. And the infrastructure in the USA, Canada and Mexico is already in place. But FIFA are saying this bid is a better bid. And when it comes to human rights, now, we all know that Saudi Arabia has one of the worst human rights records in the world. Amnesty International say their human rights record is atrocious. FIFA says that the bid carries only a medium risk when it comes to human rights. Now, I think what FIFA are saying is, we are not judging Saudi Arabia on what the situation is like at the moment. We're judging them on what it will be like in 2034. So it's a bit like you handing in your homework and the teacher saying, Vicky, I'm not going to mark you on the homework that you've handed in. I'm going to give you a mark based on what you tell me your homework is going to look like in 10 years' time.
I would have preferred that every single time. It kind of doesn't make sense. Like you say, that it's kind of like FIFA have got the crystal ball in their hands and they're going to say this is what's going to happen. So how they can give that score is a little bit vague, isn't it? The vote itself, it's going to happen on a week on Wednesday, but can we even call it a vote? What's happening in this process?
I mean, we're going to have an extraordinary FIFA Congress. It is going to be done virtually, online. So we can't go there as journalists to ask questions, to scrutinise what is going on. 211 member associations of FIFA will vote on who gets the 2030 World Cup and 2034 World Cup. Now, there's only one bidder for each. So we know 2030 is going to be Spain, Portugal, Morocco with 3 games in South America. And we know 2034 is going to be in Saudi Arabia. There isn't even going to be a vote. It is going to be done by acclamation. So people are going to stand up, people are going to clap. And also...
Is there a clapometer or something? How does that even work?
I don't know. I'm going to have to ask. But there's only one bid, so it doesn't really matter. We
so
know...
they've got it anyway.
They've got it anyway. Yeah. And the 2 bids are bundled together. So when you vote or when you acclaim or when you clap or when you stand up, you will be standing up for Spain and Portugal and Morocco to get 2030 and Saudi Arabia to get 2034. So they're not being separated. You can't stand up.
For one,
you can't stand up and clap for one, and then when it comes to Saudi Arabia, say no, I'm going to sit down. I'm protesting. I don't think they should get the World Cup.
But they're completely
so basically,
different.
It looks like FIFA are doing absolutely everything in their power to make sure that Saudi Arabia get the World Cup in 2034 with as little scrutiny and as little controversy as possible.
I mean, like I say, this is their chance, I guess, to get things right, you'd have to say, in terms of everything you've mentioned, in terms of appeasing people like Amnesty International and getting it right in the next 10 years. Is there a case at all that you can see, you know, that we can go back to the Gulf state within the 10 years period? Because what Qatar was 2022.
To me, it looks like FIFA have done everything in their power to make sure that Saudi Arabia gets the World Cup in 2034. Because World Cups are supposed to rotate around confederations. So it shouldn't be going back to the Gulf region just 12 years after we had the World Cup in Qatar in 2022. But what's happened is that the World Cup in 2030 is going to be Spain, Portugal, Morocco, and also some games in South America. So in 2030, we're going to have a World Cup, which is in Europe, which is in Africa, which is in South America. So it takes them out of the equation when it comes to 2034. So FIFA can say 2034, it's going to rotate around the confederations. It's Asia's turn. And guess what? The only bid from Asia is from Saudi Arabia, because the bid process was fast-tracked, and anyone else who wanted to bid for the 2034 World Cup only had a month to submit their bid. And guess what? Nobody else submitted a bid. For what it's worth, I think you could make an argument for why the World Cup should be in Asia again.
OK.
Of course, I don't think you should just look at people from Asia and consider everybody there to be a victim. People there have agency. People there are massive football fans. Yeah. There are lots of good reasons why the World Cup should every 4 years be in Africa, in Asia, in Europe, in South America, in CONCACAF, that it should rotate. I think there is a good case, but I don't think Saudi Arabia should be getting the World Cup like this, because to me, my own personal opinion is this looks like FIFA are doing everything in their power to make sure that Saudi Arabia gets the World Cup in 2034. And to me, it looks like, again, money is following football and football is following money.
Kaveh, thank you.
Our chief reporter, Kaveh Solokol, is still with me. So many questions, I'm almost unsure where to begin about what we saw today and what we witnessed. What are your reflections?
I think overall this is a really bad look for FIFA. I think some of these images are images that will be seared into people's memories for many years going forward. I still remember Sepp Blatter in 2010, the much maligned former president of FIFA, opening that envelope, and you could tell from the look on his face that he was upset, he was annoyed that the World Cup in 2022 was going to Qatar. I still haven't forgotten that image. Now, contrast that with the image of Gianni Infantino, the current president of FIFA, smiling and being so happy that the World Cup is going to Saudi Arabia in 2034, when Saudi Arabia 2034 was the only bidder. Another image, I think, that looks bad for FIFA, and people will be replaying over and over again in the coming weeks, months and years. Those people standing and clapping. I mean, what kind of democracy is that? That people just clap when there's only one sole bidder, when there's only one candidate to clap for as well. And also that image of the scrutineers. Now, with all due respect, is that a good look for FIFA to cut to a shot of scrutineers who are supposed to be scrutinising what is going on, giving the thumbs up, some of them giving 2 thumbs up. And then we came to the actual part of the proceedings where we were told there was going to be a vote. Of course, we told you consistently that it wasn't going to be a vote as we know it. It was going to be what FIFA call a vote by acclamation, which is just people clapping. And there you saw, obviously, it was done virtually, it was done online, when it really should have been a proper congress where people would have attended, where the media would have been able to attend, where there'd be a press conference. But FIFA have decided that it was going to be online and it was going to be done by acclamation. That is another image I will not forget, and I'm sure football fans will not forget for a long time. Gianni Infantino standing in front of those screens, and then when he invited everybody to applaud, it went to a wide shot. So we actually couldn't really see if everybody was applauding or not. From what I could see, my eyesight is not that great anymore. I'm pretty sure some people were not applauding. Perhaps FIFA can confirm that for us. And don't forget, not only was there not a real vote, there was also not an individual vote for 2030 and 2034. They were all, even though there was only one bidder, they were all lumped together. So Gianni Infantino just basically said, I invite you to stand and applaud if you're in favour of 2030 being in Spain, Portugal and Morocco, with some games in South America, and also 2034 being in Saudi Arabia. So I think this is a really bad look for FIFA. And one thing that struck me when I was watching this live was, when you think of programmes like Strictly Come Dancing, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of the Jungle, The X Factor.
Get me out of here, but
Get me out of here, or whatever
Semantics.
it's called. Even these programmes, this is like light entertainment, not something as serious as who is going to host, World Cups. Those programmes have phone votes, don't they? You vote on the app, or you call, or you do it online. So they have a higher level of democracy and scrutiny and accountability than what we've just seen.
Carve, it's been a pleasure doing it all with you this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today. Oh, right, OK. Well, we'll stay with the theme of this because human rights groups wanted the World Cup bid process halted until the Saudi government agreed to reforms. Now, Steve Coburn is from Amnesty International, and he called this a dangerous decision by FIFA.
FIFA has human rights requirements that it's part of its bidding process, which means that anyone who wants to host the World Cup should meet minimum labour standards, standards on freedom of expression, and to make sure that people are protected when the tournament's happening. We've done a lot of work on Saudi Arabia over many years, and it's clear that there are, this is a very dangerous decision for FIFA, and there are huge risks to migrant workers, hundreds of thousands of whom will be involved in the tournament, who are at risk of exploitation or even death in the extremely hot conditions, residents who could be forcibly evicted from their homes for major projects, fans who could face discrimination. And we know that in Saudi Arabia, anyone who wants to speak out, even peacefully, will find themselves in prison. So it's an extremely dangerous decision FIFA did not manage to negotiate human rights protections with Saudi Arabia before it awarded, and it's not really clear if it even tried particularly hard.